Hi, it's Agnes. Welcome to your Ultra Mind, Higher Brain, and how to charge them with energy. Did you know that 63% of workers are ready to quit because of stress? And 94% of workers report feeling stress at work. And the American Institute of Stress reports 120,000 people die each year due to job stress. Signs you may be stressed are worry, overwhelm, headaches, sleep issues, high blood pressure, and tiredness. And 85 to 90% of doctor visits are related to stress issues manifesting in our physical bodies. Can we measure stress? Yes, we can. And I do it with my heart rate variability scan. It measures 4 parameters of stress and many other things in just 5 minutes from your heartbeat and 2 electrodes on your wrist. And the more variable your heart rate, the more the heart is relaxed and the less stress one feels or has. So anyone here wants to or hasn't had a heart rate variability scan, I would love to give it to you as a gift. The human brain has evolved over many eons, and there are actually 4 parts. Number 1, the reptilian brain. 2, the limbic mammalian. Number 3, the neocortex. And number 4, the prefrontal cortex. The reptilian brain is driven by fear, aggression, and our most basic survival needs, including food, sex, shelter, and safety. I have a little picture for you here. Try and bring it into focus. So the reptilian brain is that section down here, that pink section, the base of the spine brain, and the mammalian limbic brain is in the center there. The neocortex is the outer part of the brain, that blue part, and the prefrontal cortex is right here, the gray part in the front of your brain or your forehead, right here. So the mammalian brain is still dominated by survival needs, but it also provides basic emotions and desires for connection and nurturing. More recently in time, we have developed the human cortex, the neocortex. Survival is also the primary focus of this brain, but survival is now also enhanced through abstract reasoning and intellectual prowess. And part of the neocortex is the 4th brain. Actually, it's 1/3 of the neocortex. It's the prefrontal cortex called the angel lobes. This structure is responsible for our highest human virtues, including compassion, understanding, love, gratitude, and empathy. Also, purpose, meaning, and spiritual experience. We now have access to more of the higher potential where we see more purposeful thriving and not just merely surviving. So think a moment of your parents or grandparents depends on your age. And, I know that in the beginning of the 20th century, there was, a lot more death and a lot more accidents, a lot more stress and struggle to provide for food and shelter than there is now. The prefrontal cortex is also called the silent area of the brain. This is a reservoir of untapped potential. This raw, latent potential is waiting to be energized into something new and revolutionary. This revolution has already begun with network spinal analysis and now adapted into higher brain living and source code meditation by Michael Cotton. Dr. Cotton is a former chiropractor. And Joseph Chilton Pearce, in his book, The Biology of Transcendence, speaks a lot about the prefrontal cortex. And he says it goes through two significant spurts of growth. The first is in the first year of life, and then again in the early 20s. So around age 25, we can say that the prefrontal cortex is fully developed. Ever wonder why your teenagers are so inconsistent or erratic in their behavior? Perhaps some of these issues are due to the lack of development and awareness of this prefrontal cortex. And Joe Dispenza, former chiropractor, says that to change our life and results, we need to change our brain waves. Studies have shown that higher brain living floods the prefrontal cortex with alpha waves, which enhances focus, meaning, and purpose. The issue for most of us is that we just can't think our way into better thoughts. Thoughts are related to a number of factors, including our environment, relationships, emotions, and state of consciousness or awareness. So according to Dr. Cotton, founder of Higher Brain Living and Source Code Meditation, when metabolism increases in the prefrontal cortex, quality of our thoughts begins to shift, as well as the empowered emotion we acquire an empowered emotional state. Dr. Andrew Newberg, author of Principles of Neurotheology, has correlated spiritual experience with brain function. However, correlation does not equal causation, nor does that mean that the brain creates consciousness or the mind. Evidence does exist, though, that implies that for us to have profound spiritual experience or advanced states of consciousness, positive emotional experiences, the prefrontal cortex and other areas of the brain must function well and have more energy. So I'm going to talk about hacking meditation. As far as an EEG goes, a recording is considered valid for a year, meaning it shouldn't change much. But what I've found and others is that the EEG changes significantly within 20 minutes of the first higher brain living session. This is by Allison Ooms, who's been doing EEGs for higher brain living clients, and she did one for me also. So Dr. Cotton says traditional meditation techniques are valuable, but they have very real limitations. Most meditation techniques attempt to use the mind to change the mind. This is like asking the fox to guard the hen house. Traditional meditation techniques take time and cultivated awareness and intense focus to lead to any significant metabolic bursts in the physical higher brain. However, few of us make it here, as it's entirely too arduous for most of us. This is Michael Cotton speaking. The Dalai Lama is said to do prayers and meditation 7 hours per day. So why do we access only about 5% of our potential? And how do we overcome overwhelm and disconnection? What powers the happiness in your life? And when was the happiest day of your life? What was the primary emotion you felt at that time? I'll give you a minute to think about the happiest day or time and what emotion you felt. Please share. Now, why do we not feel this way all the time? What gets in our way? According to Cigna Global Health, 46% of Americans reported feeling lonely sometimes or always in 2018. And Dr. Lissa Rankin reports that feeling lonely is the #1 factor at this time in the cause of disease, including heart disease, depression, anxiety. Loneliness or even stress, it can be considered a symptom of disconnect. And lack of awareness of this will leave most of us feeling stuck and hopeless. Let us look for a moment at Kate Spade, who committed suicide at the age of 55, much to the disbelief of her friends and family. I believe there is a part of Kate Spade in all of us. And the reason I mention Kate is that we often make assumptions of those we know based on outward barometers of success without really knowing what they are dealing with on the inside. And this disconnect and stress can show up at any time. According to the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in 2018, there were more gunshot suicides than homicides. So your chance of being killed by a gun is 6 in 10. So suicides are 6 times. For every 10 people, 6 of those deaths will be suicides and 4 homicides. So there is a unique solution for those who struggle with feelings of overwhelm, disconnection, or even depression. I call it evolving your joy with higher brain living. I myself struggled unaware with this disconnect for quite a few years. And the immense joy and purpose that lifted me up after this struggle left me with a great passion to share path out of this that imprisons so many. So higher brain living is a way to tap into the part of the brain that we only access about 5% of the potential. It is the prefrontal cortex, like I mentioned, behind the forehead. And this allows us to bypass lower brain structures so that we see new possibilities on how to create what we want, especially a life of more gratitude, meaning, passion, confidence. What if we suddenly had the ability to make strong choices, see things more clearly and take solid action steps without procrastination and doubt. How would our world look? Higher brain living uses gentle touch with my fingers to wake up the most evolved part of your brain with energy. EEG recordings report significant changes in this part of the brain when higher brain living is done. Other leading thinkers in consciousness, such as Dr. Joe Dispenza, state that in order to initiate significant change in our lives, it is necessary to change our brain waves. We have discovered pathways in the spine and body that lead to the prefrontal cortex of the brain. These are energetic pathways in the central nervous system that, when touched and compressed in the right location with the right pressure and vectors in the right sequence, cause a piezoelectric effect. Means it causes energy to travel. A surge of energy that travels to the brain right here. This process is transforming the way healing and personal growth is approached. No other technique can create this response consistently like higher brain living does. What if the time for this new brain to awaken in humans is not hundreds of years away, but available right now? A higher consciousness is emerging in each of us that will allow us to thrive no matter what is going on around us. Is this idea exciting to you? So why do we only use about 5% of the brain, our higher brain's potential? The answer is lower brain dominance caused by stress in our environment. Like I said, stress is associated with 90% of all medical visits and chronic disease. The lower brain evolved to keep us safe from predators, and now it is interpreting our angry husband, a sick child, a traffic jam, a demanding or upset boss in ways that steal joy. Does this seem far out? Consider this. What would a smartphone have looked like to your great-grandmother? It would have looked like magic. Yet today we understand that it is entirely possible. Today we are seeing a new technique, such as a smartphone, a latent potential that is alive within us all. It seems far out, yet it is just like a new smartphone, the latest evolutionary advancement to you. Why should we spend more time in our higher brain? Einstein said that you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created the problem in the first place. So your higher brain gives you the ability to solve problems and apply change to every area of your life. The first thing we notice when energy is surging to the higher brain is a spontaneous movement and expansion of breath in the body, creating a feedback mechanism called salutogenesis, which means there's more oxygen coming into the body and metabolism is increasing in the prefrontal cortex. And we'll demonstrate this in a few minutes. This creates the possibility for radical transformation in your brain and your life. We also see stress being released in some natural rejuvenating wave-like movements in the body. Oh, some of the times. My personal experiences with higher brain living are remarkable. I saw a synergistic effect of what I was with what I wanted to expand, and it transformed me exponentially. My life changed in all 4 dimensions: mind, body, relationships, environment. That environment means all of our creative and career endeavors. Each client creates a 4-dimensional map of what he is choosing to create. And it's activated twice daily in an ongoing practice. I love this practice as I am constantly telling myself how my life is being created. And negative thoughts are said to be burned in the higher mind because it is energized. There is also a heart-brain connection and activation that is part of this. And the heart is actually connected to the brain with many neurons, allowing participants to amplify more love and joy and sustained feelings and action. So I recommend that you read The Biology of Transcendence by Joseph Chilton Pearce and Source Code Meditation by Michael Cotton. I have referred to these 2 books in my talk here. So if you want to ask me about my daily affirmations about my life in 4 dimensions, I would like to share one, or my authentic self declaration. Every client, person who is involved gets to create his own map, and I love this process. Now we'll get going with our demonstration with a couple of our participants. Thank you.